discuss everything baseballs. I'm Landon Raby. With me, Dylan Taylor, Caleb Mitchell in here as well. Not a whole lot of Gator chomping going on this weekend. Hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
This team is just on a different planet right now. It's when the rankings come out, it should just be like Tennessee and then everybody else because it doesn't matter. Tennessee is by far the best team in the country and sitting atop of the SEC by 5 games and atop of the SEC East by 6 games. Getting that sweep over Florida this weekend, Friday and Saturday, kind of just took care of business the way you've done it kind of all season. Good pitching, timely hitting, home runs. And Sunday, you get to play the comeback kids. And man, that was a lot of fun. That was a statement win for Tennessee. It reminded me a lot of them from last year. Just never count us out. You give us, if it's within 5 runs, we got a shot. And that's how I always feel about Tennessee. And Tennessee's pitchers are always going to put them in a position to win games because, they're not going to be down 5 runs. You're lucky to get 5 runs in a game against Tennessee. And, I just don't see Tennessee going 6 innings probably the rest of the season without having a hit.
Yeah, it was, you want to say cold bats, but excellent start from the Florida pitcher. I mean, we hate him, but it's what I saw a tweet or they said on the broadcast, he didn't throw anything straight all day. I mean, every pitch he had pretty ridiculous movement on it. And you could tell just couldn't square him up. And then finally, I thought it was going to be one of those games where we don't square anything up until he's taken out of the game. But finally, it's the 7th inning. You finally got to him there, so he was filthy. He's a guy that I'm confident playing Florida again. If you had to in a win and loss, but I don't want to see him on the mound doing it.
Yeah. Other than that game, what did you see from Tennessee? In that Friday and Saturday games. I mean, it's the best baseball team I've ever seen. I'm not going to go on record and say it's the best college baseball team ever, but it is in my eyes.
Just for 1 inning, apparently, just for that 7-run second or third. I mean, if you listen to the Florida announcers, it's what we were talking about before the show. If you listen to them for the entire weekend and thought they did a somewhat decent job, I'd tell you to get your head checked because, I mean, they were.
Yeah. You want to shove a pin through my head.
It's one thing to be bad at your job, but it's another thing to I get they're Florida homers, but I mean, you don't have to make it just so obvious. But I mean, it's like you said. I mean, I don't know the point they were trying to make with, hey, we scored all our runs in 1 inning because I think we outscored them 17-6 on the weekend. So it was more besides 6 to 7 innings on Sunday, it was more dominance from the number 1 team in the country. I do think it's ridiculous. We haven't moved up any in the polls in like 4 weeks now. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, come on. Let's do something about it.
What else do we have to do?
This pitching staff, I mentioned they're going to give Tennessee a shot to win every single game. Gave up 11 hits on the weekend, 6 runs, and it's a really good Florida offense. Judd Fabian's one of the best hitters in this league, and he was kind of kept in check, throughout the weekend. And, just again, you lose a starter in Chase Dolander, and you don't even miss a beat because you get Blake Tidwell just kind of thrown in there. Chase Burns was back to his old self. And I mentioned Blake Tidwell. It just felt normal that he was starting on a Saturday.
Felt like old times.
It just felt right. I don't know what they do going forward. I know we're going to get into that probably here in a little bit, but it just felt good. So, props to him. Great outing. Camden Sewell came in, shoved it. They called him the Gator Killer I think on Twitter today because in his 4 outings against Florida, I think his ERA is like 0.6 something. So just done a phenomenal job against Florida in his career at Tennessee. Will Mabry continues to be one of the best arms in this bullpen. Redmond Walsh, your 35-year-old closer that you got he's just a dude. I mean, it's not incredible stuff, but he's accurate. He's going to put it in exactly the place he wants to put it. and good luck.
There are many high school pitchers. I don't know, many. There are a lot of high school pitchers that throw it harder than Redmond Walsh does. I mean, and he just, but you still, it's what they said on the broadcast. You can't square him up. He's got the delivery where he kind of comes across his body, which is one thing that's nasty, especially to a left-hander. But he's another guy that he doesn't have the speed that the Florida starter had, where when it moves that much, it's insane. He's just able to place it wherever he wants to, and when you can do that, it doesn't have to be Ben Joyce level. It doesn't even have to be somebody like Blade Tidwell, one of the starters. It doesn't have to get just outrageous stuff whenever you can put it wherever you want to and put decent movement on it. And that's what he's done his entire career.
Yeah, and I mentioned how balanced Tennessee, has been over this, the course of the season. I mean, it's insane that you have somebody making somebody different making a play every single game. You have somebody different that's getting a SEC award every single weekend. I mentioned Judd Fabian. They kind of didn't let him do very much throughout the series, and Florida couldn't get anything going offensively. So, you can kind of game plan. I know we're facing one of the best hitters in the SEC, probably the best hitter in the SEC, and in Sonny D at Auburn. And but when you don't, if he's not able to give you anything, what does this Auburn offense look like? Because Tennessee's lineup, you can't just, I'm just not going to pitch to Jordan Beck. Oh, you want to put him on with Drew Gilbert up next? You want to put him on with Luke Lipsius after him, or Trey Lipscomb, then Luke? I mean, yeah, it's you just can't. 1 through 9, it's tough. We saw a huge play from Christian Scott to rob that home run to end the game on Sunday. I mean, he didn't even really play until he didn't play that whole weekend until Sunday. And
then he's number 4 on the Sports Center top 10.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's somebody different every single weekend. And I mean, this, again, just going back, this team is, I don't really have any words for it. They're just head and shoulders better than everybody else.
They're not even loaded. They're just fully loaded. There's no, I mean, loaded doesn't even.
Yeah, you can't do it justice with words of how dominant they've been.
I mean, I'm trying to think of any adjective I can, but it's just they're just good. Like they're just flat out good.
Yeah. Without using cuss words, it's hard to really get that description going on.
We can make it colorful. I don't know what Twitter's broadcasting rules are, but
well, let's get into the weekend a little bit. Friday, Chase Burns, again, I mentioned it, back to his old selves. 6 1/3, 2 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 5 Ks. I mean, that's Tennessee gets 7 runs in the second inning. That's all they needed. It was with that kind of margin in between the two teams with Tennessee's bullpen. As an opposing team, you got to be like, well, maybe tomorrow. I mean, what do you really think in that case?
It's one thing against the team this good to let them score, just because you're like, there's different types of good. Like there's getting off the hot start. There's kind of finding your groove a couple times through the lineup, and then there's ones that you're never out of a game. And any great team, that's how they are. I mean, it's you kind of had that feel that after we got the starter out, even when we started to rough him up a little bit, we got the walk. It had that feel of like, hey, all it takes is one hit. Like, and that's the good part about having a lineup that just has no holes in it, especially has power throughout, is you're one swing away from either chipping away, taking the lead, tying. So it's weird to have a team that even when they don't perform well, even when they don't look like themselves, all it takes is just the slightest bit of momentum, and they're going to be back. Even if I'd say even if you didn't come back and win that game, but you have that threat of, say you score 3 runs in the ninth, that gets in the mental part of, oh, here we go again. Like we could have had this, we could have avoided the sweep, and then you score a couple late runs, it starts to get hairy then.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with when Chase Burns goes out, you're up, I think 7 or 8-2 at that point, maybe 7-2, and then you get Ben Joyce in there. I mean, like there's no shot. And see, I mean, props to Tennessee and props to their pitching staff. They've just been phenomenal. Trey Lipscomb Friday night hit a 3-run bomb. That was kind of the highlight, I guess, offensively. They just kind of walked some guys that they had I think an error in there, and we got a couple of timely hits, and then Trey Lipscomb just, hey, you're gonna leave runners on, we're gonna make you pay for it. So.
And it looked like the ball wound up with the Tennessee fan in the outfield out there that had I think his sign said something about freeing Tony V. I mean, I thought that was funny that there's all the Florida fans sitting on the hill and it's the one guy in orange that's holding up the sign. He's probably pretty obnoxious out there, and he's the one that gets the ball. So it was very fitting.
Free Tony, baby. Love it. Glad we got him free on Sunday. That was good to see. I was beginning to think, because it's a natural Tennessee fan thing to do is doubt. When we're down 4-0, it's like, oh man, it looks like Florida's probably going to win this game. But I was like, well, Tony, that he's the common denominator. Josh Elander's, out here running the show, and I think Tony joked that he said that he sees how his value is, and it's not very much.
Is Tony Vitello overrated? Are we going to start this trend?
Yeah, don't get Arkansas fans riled up.
We're just asking questions. We're not saying anything. Apparently, if you go to any Ole Miss message board, he's their next head coach anyway. So
for sure, yeah, because I would way rather live in Mississippi than Tennessee for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Saturday, Blade. I mean, what a performance just from not really pitch on the weekend and haven't pitched this much, since you got injured. So, props to him, going on the road and doing what he did. I mean, he just looked calm, cool, and collected, hitting 99 on the radar gun a couple of times. He was 4 2/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 walk, 5 Ks. I mean, let's get into what do you do?
It's scary because he obviously, he looked good, but I don't even think that's anywhere near Blade Tidwell. Like even what we saw last year. I mean, the credit one thing to the Florida broadcasters. That was the only thing they could. I mean, they had 2 eyes, so I guess they could see it. Blade was leaving some stuff up. I mean, I was thinking, I was like, they're going to tag one in a second. They're going to tag one in a second. Just kept saying that because he would leave. I don't know if it's that slider or it doesn't look like a full curve, maybe a slurve, but he would leave it up in the zone a little bit. But his stuff is just so nasty that even when he makes a mistake, it's still so hard to hit. So that's how wildly impressive it is, and just how you don't want to say unfair because it's an embarrassment of riches, but I mean, we're going to get into it. Where's his spot in the rotation right now? Like it's 4 2/3, 5 strikeouts, and even when he's missing spots, it's hard to hit against him. So you just like, how can I take him out of the rotation?
Right, and he's got that natural tail anyway because of his arm angle. It's like a 3/4 almost arm angle. So everything he throws tails. So 99, and it's moving. That's good luck. Is all I gotta say. Yeah. I don't know what you do. I mean, I'm all for like if it ain't broken, don't fix it. But like you kind of already fixed it. So do you like redo what you already had, or I think it's between Dolander and Blade Tidwell. I don't think you mess with Friday and Sunday.
I mean, Drew Beam, the guy that we started the year saying he would be the guy that get his spot taken. I'm not taking him out now. He's top of the list. I mean, they didn't have his best start Sunday, but still, I mean, it's not. I mean, on a road game in the SEC, Florida, they're trying not to get swept. I mean, he got roughed up a little bit, but I don't think it was just a terrible start. And I mean, if that's the worst you're getting from him, like you're still. I mean, 4 runs. I mean, how many they say we're averaging this year? I mean, you're still going to statistically, win most of the time. So even on his bad starts, you're still in a pretty good position. So if you didn't have Redmond Walsh, I'd say make one of them the closer. Like they've all got filthy stuff. They all can hit high velocity, got good off speed. I'd be like, okay, if for a team that if your bullpen's a little shaky, just make one the closer this year. Make one of them the Kevin Kopps role. But how do you take Redmond Walsh out of that role? So I have no clue. I hope you have answers because I have none.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just go and play rock, paper, scissors, and the loser just doesn't get to start that weekend.
I guess so.
And I'd be cool with that. Whatever.
That's the fairest way to do it, I think.
Yeah. Or draw straw, the shortest straw. Doesn't start that weekend. Has to start the midweek game.
Honestly, I think I'd give Burns a rest. Next week I'd get Dolander a rest. I would just go in rotation of each starter gets a week off and just do that. I mean, it's the only thing I can think of because every guy deserves to be in there.
And I was thinking Chase Burns would probably get that week off with, his last two outings before this weekend were kind of rough and his velocity wasn't up there and things like that. You maybe thought he could use a weekend off, but then he comes in and shoves it on Friday. So it's like anytime like we might have a solution, they just kill it. So it's impossible. But Tony Vitello is getting paid the big bucks to make that decision. So we'll see what comes about it. But I'm confident in whoever's out there for Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to waste. It sounds bad saying waste them on a midweek game because I mean you just lost to Tennessee Tech in a midweek game not too long ago, so you can never take the game off. But I mean, let's be honest, like you don't want to waste one of those four guys on a midweek game on a non-conference against Xavier. Like you don't want to do that. So it's you have three spots and there's four people, and I don't know. It's fitting a square peg in a round hole. I don't know how you do it.
And we're getting to the time, it's getting closer and closer to postseason ball where you're going to need a fourth starter in there. So, I mean, it seems like it's, the problem's kind of happening at the right time, in my opinion. So I'm cool with it. But back to Saturday, Camden Sewell came in. I mentioned how well he's done against Florida. He pitched 4 1/3 innings. 0 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, 3 Ks. I mean, you get Blade and everything's telling. Well, then Camden Sewell comes in and, he isn't throwing as hard as Blade, but it's a guy who's, been here for a long time and, has that SEC road experience and, the location. He's got the arm angle where everything kind of tells too. And so it was just the perfect storm for Tennessee that, you only needed 1 run in this game to win it, and you got 3 thanks to Drew Gilbert and Luke Lipsy's home runs.
Makes it even better that he grew up a Florida fan too. Like that's just an extra and a knife in their heart. It brings me joy.
Hate it for him. There wasn't really any drama in this series, which is weird.
No, because even Sunday, I mean, I don't really know if it's a great comeback. I don't know if you call it drama. I mean, there was drama on the Florida end, but not. And you don't want to lose the game, but you've already got the series wrapped up, so it's not the end of the world if you lose it. But I mean, it's in the way that's kind of freeing. Like you've already got the series. Obviously, you want the sweep, and I'm sure they knew that the best start in the SEC history was on the line, 17-1. But there's no real intense pressure there, especially when you've got as big of a lead in the division as they do. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's weird to say there was no pressure when you were losing in a game that you really want to win. But, I mean, it's not. This team plays loose regardless, obviously, with how much fun they have. But it kind of gave them a chance to, and they pulled it off yet again.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused about Florida's rotation. I mean, there's no reason why Florida shouldn't be better than what they are. Now, I think their pitching is pretty good. Hunter Barco, they probably could have used him this weekend, but their best pitcher was the Sunday guy. And maybe we're looking at ourselves in the mirror saying, ours is too. But in reality, I mean, all 3 of our starters could probably be the Friday night guy, and it wouldn't matter. But
all 4.
But I mean, that guy on I mean, maybe it was just junk, and Tennessee just struggles with that. That's something they're going to have to overcome because you get more tape like that. I mean, Tennessee Tech did it; they didn't throw you anything. They're going to make you chase it. They're going to slider, curveball, change up. Maybe try to sneak in a fastball every now and then just to keep you off balance. But um, yeah, it was their Sunday guy was by far their best pitcher this weekend.
Yeah, I was trying to find his name. I couldn't. Brandon Neely. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
7 innings, 1 hit. I mean, he was two walks too, which is the really insane part because you talk about how patient our lineup is. The 2 walks may be even more impressive than the 8 strikeouts, honestly. Because I mean, you especially with a lineup that dangerous, you never want to throw anything fat down the plate because you feel like it's going to get sent back at you very quickly. So you try to nibble the edges, and he did it to the tune of 2 walks. And I mean, he was, like I said, it was one of those games where it felt like we don't have a chance until he's out of the game. Now you cracked him late, but I wanted to find his name just because I never want to give any positive vibes to any Florida player, but I mean, he earned it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mentioned Drew Beam. It definitely wasn't his best outing of the season. But 3 on runs, 1 strikeout, 3 walks is not normal for him. 4 hits, but I mean, still, like it's 3-0 when he comes out of the game. Like usually that's like you mentioned earlier. Usually you're ahead, or usually it's a tie game. Usually Tennessee has some sort of offense going within those first 4 innings, and they couldn't get anything going until the 7th. But once that hit finally dropped, Drew Gilbert's triple, it felt like a totally different ball game.
Yeah, and I do not understand the decision. I mean, I kind of harped on O'Sullivan a little bit last week. Just I thought he was maybe a little bit overrated. Leaving Blake Purnell in there was an odd decision. I mean, I get that he's kind of been your bullpen guy all year, but in a situation where you could have had, I think it would have, if you would have went to the bullpen, you could have had lefty on lefty instead of righty on lefty. But he kind of played it like doesn't really matter. This guy's been a workhorse all year, so I don't really care about the matchup. And then he just lost it late. I was like, I mean, I understand if that's your guy and you want to ride with him, but it's not like this is the College World Series and you're like, if I'm going to lose it all right here, I want to lose it on the guy that's gotten us here. I mean, you're still sitting here in April, so I didn't fully understand that decision because he really didn't look comfortable. I mean, the first couple batters in that first inning he came out, he looked a little filthy, but after going and having to sit like that, I did not understand that decision at all.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I'm glad he did it. I mean, good for him.
Thank you, Sully.
Yeah. Is he on the hot seat? I mean, he's getting paid a lot of money. I think his contract goes through 2025, so that's probably pretty hefty to get rid of a baseball coach. But he is one of the highest paid players. They just spent a crap ton of money on that brand new stadium, and for them to be in the state of Florida and kind of be where they're at is just head scratching to me.
If you listen to last week's episode, I think I already kind of had him there. I don't know if I'd have him on the hot seat, but I mean, yeah, he's John Calipari 2.0 to me. He should be able to get just about anybody he wants. He does a lot of the time, has some postseason success, but just can't. One time he's won it all, and I mean, you look at years like this that are kind of sprinkled in there where you're like, man, the talent drop off shouldn't have been that crazy. And you look at coaching decisions like leaving Purnell in the end, where I'm like, did this guy just kind of strike gold the first couple years, and that's kind of fed his momentum ever since then, and he's really not an actual good coach? I'm not saying that, but that's kind of what I see, honestly.
Yeah. Hate it for the lollipop kid down in Florida. That's the second time we beat them in a series in a row on the road, right? Yeah, 2019.
So. Yeah.
Yep. So how about that? Maybe their downfall is Tennessee's. That's where we've gotten so good. We've just taken all that success from them.
All those teeth and no toothbrush.
Exactly. Yeah. We just became the Monstars overnight. We just took all their talent.
If there's one team I'd want to do it against, I can think of them, and then one team where I was just in the city a couple hours ago. So I don't know which one would be better. Probably Florida. Just my hatred for Florida across all sports, but
yeah,
hate it for them
for sure. Going back to Sunday, Ortega hits a. There's no way we don't take the World Series this year. Bobby Brazil said that. I mean, I have to agree.
Bobby, my $30 wager on FanDuel Sportsbook also agrees with you there. So I'm hoping you brought the positive luck.
So how much do you win?
I got it right after the Ole Miss series. I believe 30 would win like 630. Was I still got it when we were obviously the best team in baseball, but they had us still at like 12th best odds then. So it was.
Now it's
I'm feeling good.
Not even worth sprinkling money on.
Yeah, we're.
It's probably, like minus money at this point.
Yeah, it's not even plus, not even worth it anymore.
But Ortega gets a huge, I mentioned Drew Gilbert getting that triple. It leads to a run. It's 4-1 heading into the ninth. Drell Ortega comes up big and it leads off with a home run, with a ton of his family there. So that was pretty cool to see. And then Tennessee just playing small ball, getting walks, and kind of, a single by Evan Russell loads the bases. And then, man, that freshman, Christian Moore, that SEC Freshman of the Week, Christian Moore, straight dog. Ties things up 4-4 with a 2-run single. And then, I mean, once you tie it in the ninth, other than, maybe the bottom of the ninth, Redmond Walsh gets out of that inning. That was huge for Tennessee. 1 out with the winning run on third base, and you somehow get out of that. I mean, that's what experience does for you. That's why you have a guy that's your closer with that much experience, because he can get you out of those tight situations like that. But there was no doubt in my mind after that ninth inning that we weren't going to win that game.
I almost slipped up and forgot. I almost called Christian Moore the best freshman in college baseball, and then I remembered we have 2 of them in our pitching rotation too. So that, I guess I was thinking in the fielding side, but I mean, that's just it kind of hit me again. Just, wow, we're good. When I was like, oh, he's the best freshman in college baseball. I was like, oh no, well, there's 2 more at least that are a little bit more dominant that he's been. I don't even know if you could say better. They have more opportunities. I mean, he doesn't. I was going to say he doesn't get to play as much for some reason, but I know the reason, just because there's so many other good people around him.
Well, if he played left field, he'd be in it, no doubt.
Yeah.
But because he's in the infield, it's kind of been difficult for him to, get in that lineup with Jared Dickey being the DH. But man, how do you keep him out?
I don't think you can at this point. He would be permanently in the lineup if
somehow, some way.
Yeah, I'd find a way to keep him in there.
Yeah, I mean,
does he play catcher?
He does play catcher.
I'm not saying it, but I'm saying it.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean,
I honestly didn't even know he did.
You put your best 9 on the field. However you get them in there, you put your best 9 on the field, and then the next best hitter after that's your DH.
I got to see his arm, just because if I know he plays second a lot, so I don't know if that's because of the arm or if that's just more of his natural position.
Well, our ballpark is so small that
it doesn't matter. I mean, we're playing on 40-foot bases, so who cares?
Yeah. Well, that kid hits a towering home run in the 11th inning to kind of win that game for Tennessee, and then Christian Scott. There's maybe a little bit of hope there for Florida when that ball's selling out, and he just crushes their dreams. The phenomenal catch.
It's weird, but I felt a little confident the whole time it was in the air, just because I was watching Scott. Like you watch him to see, like,
he's just waiting on it.
Are they even turning around? Is their head down shaking? Are they running after it? And he did the MLB The Show where he kind of looped to the right to time it up. just to because you're like, if you see him doing that, it must not be that deep. And just the way he was timing it up, I was like, oh, he might have that one. And number 4, top 10. I think it could have been higher. I mean, I've seen many worse plays that have gotten number 1, but it just depends on what all happened that day. But in that spot, that's what makes it even more impressive. Is you don't lose the game. Yeah, it's not tied if you don't catch it, but you don't want to give them any momentum right there against your closer. So massive, great celebration too.
Oh, for sure. And then that's your first sweep in Gainesville since 2001. So yeah, when you look at all the history behind it, number 4, there's 3 better plays than that yesterday. I don't know about that. I didn't see it. I just saw the highlight where he was number 4, but I didn't see what was in front of him. But phenomenal series from Tennessee, just getting it done. And this weekend, number 19 Auburn comes to town with probably the best hitter in the SEC and Sonny D. He's a transfer from Sanford, I think. Big first baseman, but leads the conference in batting average, on base percentage, and slugging percentage. So I think they're a pretty good team. Their Sunday guy is probably their best pitcher. I think he's 6-0 on the season, 6 or 7-0. Second in the conference in batting average. Gonzalez is his last name. I can't remember his first name. But Auburn is 11-7 in the conference. They're sitting second in the West behind Arkansas. So this is going to be a good series. I can't wait for it. You get the 2 games. Friday and Saturday will be at night, and then you get the day game on Sunday. I'm sure it'll be Drew Beam and the Cream.
It's kind of a measuring tape game. You want to see against the best hitter in the conference. He is, but looking at it, he hasn't faced the best pitchers in the conference. So it's kind of best on best. See if I'm not trying to discredit him in any way, but you want to, anytime there's a matchup like this, you want to see your best against my best. So whether it's Burns, Dolander, Beam, Blade, whoever it is, I'm sure he'll face at least 3 of them all weekend. So I want to see what he's got. See if he's. I'm sure he's legit. Just how legit is he though?
Yeah, and Auburn, they're a team that much like Tennessee has just exceeded expectations this season. They didn't know how good Sonny. I'm just going to call him Sonny D. I think I know how to pronounce his name. I don't want to butcher it.
Works for me.
They didn't know how good he was going to be because he was a transfer. We didn't know how good Dolander and Burns and Beam were going to be. We didn't know how good Trey Lipscomb, Trail Ortega, you just didn't have much of a clue, but these teams have exceeded expectations, and it's going to be another top 25 matchup inside that small ballpark that we call Lindsey Nelson.
I'm just going to say I have bragging rights over them already because they lost that series to MTSU earlier in the year. So
they did.
If I have to say I'm doubting Auburn right now, I guess you'd have to call me a hater, but I'm rolling with Tennessee to get a sweep this weekend.
Okay.
Until
keep the brooms out.
The Blue Raiders have been a little bit better than we thought this year, but that's a tough series.
They're not at Tennessee.
Home. Yeah, at home too. Right. Now, if you're coming up to the absolute tough ballpark to play in Murfreesboro and you lose the series, it can be excused. But at home, I don't know.
Yeah. Love it. Let's get a last thing, MVP. Who you got?
I'll go Christian Moore.
Okay.
I don't think you win the game without him on Sunday. Plus, I feel like I've gone pitching pretty heavy this year. And like I said, I almost called him the best freshman in baseball until I realized our rotation. But
he looked like it on Sunday.
Yeah, he's a guy that we talked about. I don't know how you take him out of the lineup. I get that you've got other guys that are really good. What you need is Jared Dickey to just take over left field permanently. something like that, and or see if Christian Moore can play outfield. Just something where you get both of them. I know Dickey's hurt right now, but just something where they're both fully healthy and can play. I mean, just figure out a combination of that somehow.
Yeah, I thought Christian Moore, but I'll go something different just to be different. I'm gonna go Blade Tidwell, just because that spot's kind of weird. You haven't been in that spot all year long. You're on the road against Florida. The stories are like Tony's coming back on Sunday. What can Florida get a win and make this a real series going into Sunday? And he just kind of shut that down.
If I was a betting man, which I am, I said that earlier, but if I would have remembered that day, I probably would have taken Florida in that game, just because I'm like that's a tough situation to come in if you're Blade right there. So if there was a game we were going to drop, I would have picked that one. I don't know if I'd seeing this team this year, I don't know if I'd ever bet on them to lose, but if there was a game where I was kind of concerned, it was that one, and he was leaving pitches high, but like I said earlier, his stuff's so filthy that even when he misses, it's still hard to hit.
Right. Yep. I think just more repetitions is going to help him out tremendously, and we'll see what they do with the rest of the rotation. We don't get paid the big bucks to make those decisions, thank God, but Tony does. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll be back next week talking about this Auburn series. Dylan, anything else?
Go Vols.
Go Vols. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. We out.